All right, I want to thank everyone for standing out and braving the cold. And I think that this was a productive deposition today. I think we learned a lot. There were a lot of questions that we asked that we weren't satisfied with the answers that we got, but we will continue to move forward. Any of my colleagues, every member of the committee asked questions, and
I would just say one of the things I learned today is if you really have specific questions about the Clinton Global Initiative or the relationship between the Clintons and Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, you got to ask Bill Clinton.
And that's a great point. The number of times that she said, "I don't know, you'll have to ask my husband," was more than a dozen. And I'll we're going to release that video, and you'll be able to see the whole thing as quick as we can get the video produced. But I think what will be interesting is some of the comments that Secretary Clinton made at the very end about Jeffrey Epstein, and I think that would apply to others that you all obviously have an interest in too. So, all right, thank you all. Thank you all. We worked for 6 months to get the Clintons to come in, and then they acted like they were going to come in, and then they didn't show up. And obviously we moved to hold the Clintons in contempt. And I think one thing that surprised the Clintons, they assumed the Democrats on the committee would vote in a partisan manner and not vote to hold the Clintons in contempt. And what they learned was a majority of the Democrats on the committee either voted to hold the Clintons in contempt or voted present. And I think that's a statement that this investigation is serious. The American people have a lot of questions. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many, if any, questions about their knowledge or involvement with Epstein and Maxwell. Again, no one's accusing at this moment the Clintons of any wrongdoing. They're going to have due process. But we have a lot of questions, and the purpose of the whole investigation is to try to understand many things about Epstein. How did he accumulate so much wealth? How was he able to surround himself with some of the most powerful men in the world? Was he an asset for our government or any other government? These are the questions that we're going to ask over the next 2 days. This is going to be a long deposition. Today will be a long deposition, I would assume, and tomorrow will be an even longer deposition. Every member of the Oversight Committee is going to have questions for the Clintons, as well as our trained staff that do nothing but deposition. So this isn't a partisan witch hunt. This was a motion, a bipartisan motion supported by the Democrats to bring the Clintons in. So I don't think it's any type of being unfair in any way to the Clintons. They've never answered questions, unlike President Trump, who gets questioned every day by just about every one of you about his knowledge or involvement with Epstein. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many questions about Epstein. I think it's a good possibility that his name will arise in some questioning today.
It'll be on my list, and I have an email I printed off for Hillary to ask about Howard Lutnick today.
Okay.
So.
We subpoenaed the estate. That had nothing to do with the discharge petition. We subpoenaed the documents for the estate. That's what the victims asked us to do. And what you're seeing is there is accountability finally happening. You've seen at least a dozen very powerful people, men and women, who have already resigned, many in disgrace from their board positions. So we're seeing accountability, but we have a desire to see a lot more accountability. We want to get the answers, and hopefully the next 2 days will be a step in the right direction. Maxwell was the main co-conspirator. No one brought more women in and lied to more women about what was going to happen with their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein than Ghislaine Maxwell. We know that obviously Maxwell was a guest at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. There weren't many people that went to that wedding, so again, we're not accusing Hillary Clinton of wrongdoing. We know that Jeffrey Epstein said many times in emails that he was the first person to raise money for the Clinton Initiative, the Clinton Foundation, that he solicited money at some of his properties for the Clinton Foundation. Again, that's not saying anything's illegal, but there are a lot of questions pertaining to Secretary Clinton.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Good evening.
Well, I have just finished testifying. I answered every one of their questions as fully as I could, based on what I knew, and what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance, but whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me.
And how have you been personally preparing for the deposition that is coming tomorrow? Are you 100% confident that there isn't anything that the former president knows about Epstein's crimes?
I am, and I think the chronology of the connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light, and that he was charged and sadly given a sweetheart deal, which, as I said in my statement, had that not happened, perhaps his predatory behavior could have been stopped earlier.
From day one, we have said that we want to talk to anyone, any person that has information about Jeffrey Epstein, about his crimes, about how he was able to get so much wealth. We will talk to any single person, whether that is a Democrat, a Republican, how much wealth they have, how powerful their position is. We want to talk to anyone. So we're happy to be here, and we're glad that both Secretary Clinton and former President Clinton are willing to talk to this committee. And the other person we want to talk to is current President Donald Trump. And so we should be very clear that now that we're going to hear from former President Clinton, I hope that Chairman Comer and the Republicans will join us in demanding that the person who actually appears more times in the files than the former president, who we want to speak with, is President Donald Trump. And so let's get President Trump in front of our committee to answer the questions that are being asked across this country from survivors and from those who have been brutally attacked and raped, sometimes as children.